In the city of Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, a young man named Aaron Fraser, age 24, was engaged in the construction of an extravagant outdoor shower and a luxurious swimming pool in the backyard of his childhood home. Little did he know that beneath the surface lay a dark secret waiting to be unearthed. As he delved into the earth, what he initially mistook for a simple coconut turned out to be a chilling discovery. The remains of his long-lost mother, Bonnie Haim, who vanished mysteriously in January 1993, were found buried in the very backyard where he played as a child. The question remains, who could have committed such a heinous act and concealed it for so long? Did Aaron, in his innocence, have any inkling of the tragic events that unfolded in his childhood home? Jacksonville, situated in the northeastern region of Florida, is a luxurious city boasting 747 square miles, making it one of the largest cities in the United States. With a population of nearly 950,000, it is the 12th most populous city in the country and the most populous city in Florida. The cost of living in Jacksonville is 7% less than the national average, making it an attractive and affordable place to call home. The city is also known for hosting the annual Florida-Georgia game, a prestigious college football event, as well as being the proud host of River City Pride, the largest gay pride parade in Northeast Florida. However, amidst all the grandeur, it was in Jacksonville that a tragic crime occurred in 1993. Born on May 20th, 1969, in the picturesque land of Scotland, Bonnie Pasciuto emerged as a beacon of grace and serenity among her family. Her parents, Robert and Patricia Pasciuto, were blessed with her presence, along with 5 other daughters and a son. Despite the scarcity of documented details about Bonnie's early years, her loved ones and close companions paint a portrait of her as a peaceful soul. Overflowing with affection, she held a profound care for those dear to her heart. At the tender age of 18, Bonnie exchanged vows with Michael Haim on September 12, 1987, setting the foundation for a life together in their home in Jacksonville, Northeast Florida. 2 years later, in 1989, the couple welcomed their cherished son, Aaron, into the world. Both Bonnie and Michael were employed at the same construction supply firm under the ownership of Evian Haim and her spouse. Evian, Michael's aunt and a cherished confidant of Bonnie, shared a close bond with the couple. While Michael assumed the role of a manager within the company, Bonnie diligently served as an accountant. However, their marital union was marred by turmoil, with Michael frequently displaying verbal aggression towards Bonnie on numerous occasions. Evian, a witness to these distressing episodes, recounted instances where Michael's outbursts extended to public humiliation and verbal abuse. A particularly harrowing incident unfolded when Michael's aggression escalated to physical violence, resulting in him slamming a car door on Bonnie's hand during a heated argument in the workplace parking lot. She tearfully sought solace in Evian's comforting embrace. Bonnie confided in her sister Liz Peake about her desire to part ways with Michael and secure custody of Aaron. In a bid to realize this motive, Bonnie discreetly established a separate bank account to safeguard her financial independence. Regrettably, Michael uncovered this arrangement and coerced Bonnie into closing the account. Despite complying with Michael's demands, Bonnie remained resolute in her resolve to save for her impending separation, entrusting Evian with the safekeeping of her funds. On the day Bonnie disappeared, January 6, 1993, she and Evian had plans to meet at 8 p.m. at Evian's place. Bonnie arrived at her own house in Jacksonville around 6:30 p.m. However, at 8:30 that evening, Bonnie called Evian to cancel their meeting due to an argument that had upset her. Despite Evian's offer to call her later, Bonnie assured her that she would do so in the morning. During the call, Evian noticed Bonnie was crying and very upset about the fight. Later that night, Bonnie allegedly left the house and never returned. Michael claimed he asked his mother, Carolyn Haim, to watch Aaron while he searched for Bonnie on the same night. He was gone for about 45 minutes. Afterward, he returned home, waited until the next morning without involving the police, and then informed his employer that both he and Bonnie would be absent from work that day, as she had left the night before. The next morning, Bonnie's purse containing cash, credit cards, identification, and other items was discovered in a trash can behind the Red Roof Inn near Jacksonville by a maintenance worker. Michael reported Bonnie missing, stating she disappeared on January 6, 1993. Detective Robert Hinson led the investigation into Bonnie Haim's disappearance in 1993. The police found Bonnie's abandoned car near the Jacksonville airport, close to the Red Roof Inn. Michael admitted that Bonnie left the house voluntarily at 11 p.m. on January 6, 1993. They observed that the driver's seat was adjusted for someone of Michael's size, not Bonnie's, as it was pulled back further than comfortable for her. Upon examination, authorities found a shoe print on the driver's side floor. It was uncovered that the sports shoe found matched a specific style that coincidentally belonged to Michael. The phrases "Daddy hurt mommy," "Daddy shot mommy," and "Daddy placed mommy in timeout" were uttered by 3-year-old Aaron when Detective Hinson made a bold move to uncover the truth by arranging for a child psychologist to speak with Aaron. Based on Aaron's statements, the authorities began to view Michael as a suspect in his wife's disappearance. They suspected a domestic dispute had occurred, leading to Michael Haim killing his wife and disposing of her body, with Aaron witnessing the horrific act. Subsequently, Michael lost his parental rights as Aaron was the sole witness to Bonnie's murder, deemed to be at risk of harm. In 1995, one of Aaron's childhood claims was validated. He disclosed to psychologists that Michael had thrown a shotgun out of the car immediately after killing Bonnie. Eventually, he informed his foster mother which bridge Michael had discarded the weapon from, leading to its discovery in the water below, where it had remained since Bonnie's disappearance. The shotgun matched one found at Michael's residence. Bonnie was declared legally deceased in 1999. Aaron's name was changed to Aaron Fraser after being adopted by his foster family. His foster mother attested that his recounting of events remained consistent over time. He persistently maintained to her and the authorities that Michael was responsible for Bonnie's murder. Furthermore, he depicted himself shooting her in drawings from his younger years. Additionally, he detailed her murder and how Michael's parents aided in disposing of her body in an essay he wrote in 8th grade. Subsequently, Aaron and his adoptive parents filed a lawsuit against Michael, holding him accountable for the tragic events. A civil court judge ordered Michael to pay Aaron $26.3 million in 2005, with Aaron also receiving his childhood home in Jacksonville as part of the settlement. Michael remained the primary suspect in Bonnie's disappearance. He was accused of mistreating her physically and verbally. Upon discovering that she had opened a bank account in her own name, he became enraged. Evian noticed her distress and tears that evening before she disappeared after an argument with Michael. The following day, he decided to take a sick day, but did not immediately report her absence. He didn't appear concerned about her disappearance, Evian remarked. He seemed more concerned about the money she was hiding from him. The driver's seat of Bonnie's car was pushed back further than she would have found comfortable when it was found at the airport, indicating that someone larger, like Michael, had been behind the wheel. The last person to drive it left a shoe print behind. Michael wore the same shoes, and the sand and plant material in the print matched those found on his shoes. Aaron's most shocking claim was witnessing Michael kill Bonnie. The validity of his statements as a 3-year-old was questioned. Despite Evian testifying to witnessing Michael verbally and physically abusing Bonnie multiple times at work, Mr. Robert Pasciuto, Bonnie's father, continued to believe that his daughter had left of her own accord and that Michael was not involved in her disappearance. When presented with evidence such as the matching footprints in the car, Mr. Pasciuto expressed uncertainty about its significance. He argued that just because his footprints were in his wife's car did not mean he had harmed her. He also remained unconvinced by his grandson's testimony, emphasizing the need to consider a child's credibility in light of other factors. Throughout the course of 2 decades, Michael Haim remained a mere suspect in the eyes of detectives, despite the claims made by Evian and Aaron that directly implicated him in the crime. The absence of a body and insufficient physical evidence hindered any charges from being brought against him, causing the case to grow cold. Aaron, who had once shared a home with Michael and Bonnie, eventually acquired the property as part of a settlement. Nearly 10 years later, while renovating the pool area with his brother-in-law in 2014, Aaron stumbled upon a shocking discovery: a human skull concealed within a large plastic bag. Alarmed, he immediately contacted Robert Hinson, the lead investigator and his therapist, believing the remains to be that of his own mother. The subsequent recovery of the remains, along with the discovery of a .22 caliber bullet casing, led to the conclusive identification of Bonnie Haim through DNA testing in August 2015. Following this revelation, Michael Hamm, the prime suspect, was apprehended by authorities from North Carolina on August 24, 2015. Despite his arrest, Michael maintained his innocence and was initially granted bail. Since Bonnie's official declaration of death in 1999, Michael had been living off her life insurance. On the 8th of April in the year 2019, the trial finally commenced after numerous delays. Aaron Fraser was represented by prosecutor Mac Hevener, who presented compelling evidence and witnesses that implicated Michael Hamm as the killer of Bonnie Hamm in 1993. On the opposing side was Janice Warren defending Michael Hamm's innocence. During the opening statements for the murder trial, Assistant State Attorney Alan Mizrahi declared that the truth had always been concealed in the backyard. Mizrahi also highlighted the discovery of a .22 caliber shell near Bonnie Hamm's remains in 2014. Aaron disclosed that Michael Hamm had disposed of his .22 caliber shotgun off a bridge shortly after Bonnie's murder. The gun was later found in 1995, submerged beneath the water of the same bridge. Although the medical examiner did not definitively prove Bonnie's cause of death, Mizrahi argued that Michael Hamm had shot Bonnie in 1993 and buried her afterwards. He emphasized that Michael's actions and demeanor, both before and after the murder, demonstrated his callous disregard for Bonnie Hamm's life. When Aaron provided his testimony, he recounted the moment in December 2014 when he picked up what appeared to be a coconut in his backyard, only to discover it was the top of Bonnie's skull. He described how upon turning it to face the hole, he saw what looked like teeth. It was an incredibly challenging experience, he reflected. I believe anyone can imagine the impact of finding a skull, even if it's not a loved one, and the emotional toll it takes. Needless to say, it was indeed my own mother's. During the final arguments, the 53-year-old Michael Hamm, clad in spectacles and an olive-colored suit, remained stoic as prosecutor Hevener pointed towards him. Throughout the trial, Michael, who has maintained his innocence since his wife's disappearance, stood firm and proclaimed in court, "I loved my wife and I would never harm her." Mac Hevener detailed the sequence of events that unfolded in the courtroom on the day of Bonnie Hamm's disappearance, meticulously recounting the testimonies and statements of witnesses. He strategically highlighted the inconsistencies that pointed away from anyone other than her husband being responsible for her tragic fate. Bonnie Hamm's absence from work on January 7, 1993, was noted, as well as her departure from home at 11 p.m. as per Michael Hamm's account, who later claimed that they had a disagreement the night before. Hevener convincingly argued that the defendant possessed the motive, means, and opportunity to commit the heinous act. The jury was informed that Bonnie had plans to leave Michael and take their young son with her. The emotional phone call she made to her friend Evian the night before her disappearance, expressing distress and sorrow, was highlighted, referring to Michael Hamm as Mr. Ill Will and Mr. Evil Intent. Hevener pointed out that the murder weapon belonged to him and that a footprint found in Bonnie's car matched his size 10 Nike shoes. It was revealed that Michael had already prepared a burial site near Jacksonville International Airport, where Bonnie's car was eventually discovered. Her handbag was found near a Red Roof Inn, containing her car keys, while her house key and another car key were left at home. Hevener emphasized the peculiarity of Bonnie leaving without her usual set of keys, abandoning all her possessions. Despite Michael Hamm's claims of innocence, his defense attorney Janice Warren argued that the state's case relied on unfounded insinuations and hypothetical scenarios. The defense's stance on Michael's innocence was not a reflection of their belief in his guilt, but rather a legal strategy. Upon careful examination of the Bonnie Hamm case, numerous grounds for reasonable doubt may arise. Warren's claim of the prosecution fabricating evidence to secure a conviction was met with a reminder from Assistant State Attorney Alan Mizrahi that justice is imperative in light of the compelling facts of the case. The pursuit of justice for Bonnie Hamm lies in the hands of those seeking it on her behalf. In the courtroom, Michael Hamm expressed his love for Bonnie and shed light on her mental state on their final night together in 1993, before her disappearance. He mentioned that Bonnie may have been unhappy for a brief period leading up to that tragic night. Defense attorney Warren argued in his opening statement that the prosecution lacked sufficient evidence to prove Michael's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Despite Michael's plea to exclude Aaron's childhood statement from the trial, the judge decided to consider it due to its relevance, especially since Aaron's past claims had proven to be accurate. Evian Heim, a close acquaintance of Bonnie and Michael, testified against Michael, alleging that he was abusive and controlling towards Bonnie and capable of committing the crime. Furthermore, two inmates claimed that Michael confessed to killing his wife while incarcerated in 2015. During the trial, one of the inmates disclosed that Michael confessed to strangling his wife to death and then burying her in the backyard. In addition to this testimony, two crucial pieces of evidence directly implicated Michael as the perpetrator. Footprints on the car seat matching Michael's shoes found in Heim's family home, and a .22 caliber shell that matched Michael's gun. The jury was presented with testimony on aggravating circumstances that could lead to a harsher sentence for Heim, such as whether the crime was committed in front of a family member, if evidence was tampered with, if it was carried out in a heinous manner, and if it caused great emotional distress to the victim's family. The judge determined that the crime was not committed in a cruel manner, but did agree on three of the aggravating circumstances. Based on the evidence and witness testimonies, the jury convicted Michael of second-degree murder on April 12th. He was sentenced to life in prison on May 21st, 2019.
On the 28th of April, 1997, Thousand Oaks, California, was recognized as one of the safest cities in the United States by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It was a haven in America until 10:20 a.m. that day. That moment marked a tragic turn for Thousand Oaks and Los Angeles County. At Western Financial Bank that Monday, there were a manager and 3 tellers present. There was no security guard, no locked front door, and no plexiglass for protection or separation of employees. The tellers were vulnerable when 2 armed men entered. Disguised as construction workers with nylon stockings over their faces and reflective vests to divert attention, the robbers herded all the employees to the back room in front of the safe. Bank teller Monica Leach was instructed to open the safe, which tragically led to her untimely demise. Despite complying with the robbers' demands, Monica was inexplicably shot in the back of the head by one of the men. She was the sole victim of the incident, losing her life on the floor of the vault room. To the robbers, her life was deemed worth only a few $1,000s, as they made off with $9 grand. Following this heinous act, local banks and donors raised a reward of $160,000 for information leading to the capture of the suspects. Despite surveillance footage and witness descriptions aiding in the creation of composite sketches, as well as the recovery of the getaway car, no arrests were made. The case unfortunately went cold. In 2021, Monica's husband, Floyd Leach, publicly addressed the crime. At the time of the incident in 1997, Floyd was 43 years old. He reminisced about Thousand Oaks being a place where doors remained unlocked, a place where he had spent most of his life and where he had met his late wife, Monica. Floyd shared that he and Monica had met at church, and their love had flourished over the years, with Monica dedicating 2 decades to a career in banking. After marrying Floyd to be closer to home, she made the decision to transfer to Western Financial Bank. Floyd expressed his thoughts on the crime in a poignant manner. It wasn't a mere video game that you could simply reset and restore everything to its former state. She was a real individual. She possessed a deep capacity for love and cherished her family and children. I firmly believe that those who commit wrongful acts must be held accountable for their actions. Apprehending those individuals would signify the closing of a chapter in my life, not erasing the memories, but putting an end to the uncertainty surrounding their whereabouts and current activities, Floyd articulated. For years, investigators were convinced that the 2 individuals were affiliated with the Crips gang. To shed light on the rationale behind this belief, Dr. Jorge Leap, a distinguished professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, with 4 decades of experience working with gangs, was consulted. The Crips stand as one of the oldest gangs in the southwest Los Angeles region. Their origins are deeply rooted in this area. Surprisingly, their influence has extended globally. I have encountered Crips gang members from as far as Australia. It is crucial to note that while they are notorious for their involvement in criminal activities, they have also contributed to significant social initiatives. To comprehend the Crips is to grasp a multifaceted, intricate portrait of street organization that originated in Southern California, Leap elucidated. In South Los Angeles, the closure of nearby factories on Alameda Street led to a significant decrease in job opportunities and income. The aftermath of the factories shutting down in the 1970s resulted in thousands of people losing their jobs, and unfortunately, the area never managed to fully recover from this economic blow. Simultaneously, in the same decade, California voters passed Prop 13, a victory for homeowners that froze property tax increment but severely impacted essential programs funded by those taxes, such as school initiatives, law enforcement, and social services. The financial strain pushed many individuals towards joining gangs as a means to earn money. By the late 80s and early 90s, the Crips turned to drug trafficking to sustain themselves financially. However, the turning point came with the release of the movie Point Break, which provided a blueprint for aspiring criminals on how to successfully rob a bank. This sudden shift in criminal activity transformed Southern California into the bank robbery capital of the nation almost overnight. Captain Eric Buschow from the Ventura County Sheriff's Department highlighted the abundance of banks in the region, particularly in easily accessible locations near freeways, making them prime targets for robberies. The disparity in security measures between frequently targeted branches and those located further away from major corridors contributed to the surge in bank heists. The 1990s saw Southern California resembling the lawless Wild West, with the Federal Bureau of Investigation estimating over 2,600 bank robberies at its peak in 1992, averaging 7 robberies per day. Gangs expanded their criminal operations beyond South Los Angeles, venturing into areas like Thousand Oaks. Captain Buschow also delved into the specifics of Monica's case in 2021. In 2021, advancements in DNA technology raised hopes for a resolution in the case. Christina Tokatlian, a forensic scientist and local combined DNA administrator for Ventura County Sheriff's Office Forensic Service Bureau, detailed the process. On March 14, 2023, authorities disclosed the arrest of 55-year-old Kevin Ray James in connection with Monica's case. James, identified 5 days earlier on March 9th in San Bernardino, California, faced charges related to Monica's death. He was taken into custody and booked into Ventura County Jail. James was reported to have resided in the Los Angeles area during the incident and was known as a gang member. Despite this development, authorities emphasized that the second suspect involved in the robbery remains unidentified. A $30,000 Federal Bureau of Investigation reward for information on the individual is still active, along with a $100,000 reward from Crime Stoppers. During a news conference, Ventura County District Attorney Eric Nazarenko condemned the crime as senseless, unprovoked, and vicious. He highlighted Monica Leach's background, upbringing in the Somas community of Ventura County, graduation from Rio Mesa High School, and family ties to the banking industry. Described as a cherished wife, daughter, and mother of 4, Monica enjoyed needlepoint and morning walks. Dr. Rick Schwartzberg, a chiropractor with an office adjacent to the bank where Monica worked, recalled his interactions with her during her 2-month tenure. He recounted the day of the incident as initially appearing routine until witnessing a speeding figure outside his office. Despite the lack of noise, he was alerted to the situation when a teller informed him of Monica's shooting. He offered to try to help do cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but it became clear pretty quickly that things weren't improving.